Sa kabila ng karamdaman, nagpatuloy ang kapatid na Felix Manalo sa pagtupad ng kanyang banal na tungkulin. Dumating ang panahon, Abril 12, alas 2:30 ng madaling araw, pinapagpahinga ng Panginoong Diyos ang kapatid na Felix Manalo. Maagang sinanay ng kapatid na Felix Manalo ang kapatid na Eranio Manalo para siyang manguna, mangalaga, magbantay at mamahala.
The Iglesia Ni Cristo Church of Christ started in the Philippines in 1914 and spread to different parts of the country. From 1914 to 1968, the church built many houses of worship. In 1968, the church was building its soon-to-be central office at Commonwealth Avenue in Diliman, Quezon City at a rapid pace. However, the church's mission does not begin and end in the Philippines. The church also extends its religious mission to other countries.
I know my parents were looking around for church members, and they finally did meet a couple of them.
In 1968, we have our own committee prayer. And then from there on, I heard already from the rest of the brethren that Brother Eranio Manalo will be coming.
We are not too much of those things to do because the house is small and there are plenty. So we went and we wait for him.
We go to attend worship service in Eva Beach.
It's really very inspiring.
When the then executive minister, Brother Eranio G. Manalo, went to Hawaii, he proceeded to San Francisco, California. The worship services were conducted there, and Brother Manalo officially established those two congregations. Before he left Honolulu, he left Brother Pedro Meimpan as a minister who would look after the welfare of our brethren over there. And then when he proceeded to San Francisco, he left Brother Cipriano Sandoval to look after the welfare of our brothers and sisters over there.
When Ka Eranio Manalo first came here for the pastoral visitation, there were so many brethren that was preparing for it. To me, on that day, it was emotional and happy.
When we heard that Ka-Erdi was coming, we were all overjoyed. It was a great opportunity that we were able to talk to Brother Erdi. Ang payo niya, of course, is always to remain active.
During the 1970s and 1980s, the U.S. faced issues like economic stagnation and the recession. In the Philippines, these decades were beset by the growing threat and violence caused by the communist insurgency.
Isa sa controversial na yugto o panahon sa ating kasaysayan bilang mga Pilipino ay yung pag-iral ng batas militar. No? September 1972, na-declare ng martial law Pero tuloy pa rin ang pananambahan ng mga Pilipino. Tuloy pa rin ang pagpapractice ng kanilang pananampalataya.
Dahil ako'y pinanganak sa Tayuman sa Tondo. Pero there was a time ng martial law na napunta rin ako sa probinsya. So natikman ko yung buhay Maynila at buhay sa probinsya sa Pangasinan sa panahon ng martial law. Pero wala akong nabalitaan na natigil na pagsamba. Ang mga kapatid, kahit saang dako, sa oras at araw na itinakda ng pamamahala na meron tayong pagsamba sa Diyos at sa ating Panginoon Kristo, patuloy ang pagsamba.
Through all these trying times, the help of God and the guidance of the church administration were always there. And there remained that joy in the hearts of the brethren, because somehow, no matter what the obstacles before us, we were able to always worship, to fulfill our duties. And that was the most important thing to us, and it was a reward in itself.
The church continued to grow. Baptism here and there. Establishments of group, worship service.
During those pioneering days, there were brethren in other states that would like to start their own group worship service. We used cassette tapes of recorded worship service that central office set and then sent it to the families that would like to start group worship services.
Because the number of church members was increasing not just in the Philippines, but also overseas, the need for ministers and ministerial workers in the church also increased. For the welfare of the church, the training of ministers, which began in 1915, also continued in the 1970s. The training intensified, and in 1974, it was named the Evangelical College. One of the students at the Evangelical College was Brother Eduardo V. Manal.
Mayo ng 1980, maordinan siya bilang isang ministro. Pagka-ordina niya bilang ministro, siya ay naitalaga sa paaralan bilang isang tagapagturo at pinakakatulong na dekano ng paaralan. Hanggang dumating ang taong 1984. Siya ay naitalaga naman bilang tagapag-ugnay ng buong Metro Manila.
Given that this church emerged in the Philippines and has only been in the far west for a few years, it was able to pique the interest of non-Filipino people who were later baptized in this church.
Being raised a Catholic, we didn't open the Bible at all on our own. There was nothing for us to do. We weren't taught. I don't think I ever even owned a Bible. We never had to use it. And then when being introduced to the church and the minister would just stand there with the Bible and just read everything from it, we realized that this is the basis for our whole life.
When I was introduced to the Iglesia Ni Cristo Church of Christ, I found something that was really sincere and real.
And it was unique because you always saw the minister just answering questions, rather than just giving his own ideas and opinions about things.
And the whole lesson was nothing but ask question, read the Bible. Ask question, read the Bible. It's so much different than any other church that I've been to.
They taught me about the Bible, and throughout the lessons, they taught me everything I needed to know about worshiping God, where I grew up in religion and I was never taught these things.
When conducting the worship service, it was done in an orderly and respectful manner.
What convinced me was how the church is the fulfillment of the prophecies in the Bible. The true church doesn't go beyond what the Bible said.
The qualities I was looking for in the church is commandments of God written from the Bible, and that's the way the ministers teach it.
And it was really inviting me to learn more about the church, to become a member of the church.
Due to the increase in membership, there was a need for more houses of worship. Thus, the church built or, in some cases, purchased and renovated properties that were dedicated to God.
When the church first expanded to the west, shortly thereafter, they began to purchase houses of worship, beginning with San Francisco in 1971, and also in Long Island City, New York in 1973. And then from there on, there's been a consistent purchase. The Church of Christ began constructing edifices, houses of worship, as early as the late 70s. The first ground-up house of worship was in Jacksonville, Florida.
Coinciding with the increasing number of houses of worship being built in the U.S., the church's largest house of worship located in the Philippines was dedicated to God, the Central Temple, in 1984 to commemorate the church's 70th anniversary.
It was built very quickly. For the church administration, wanted to make sure that it would be completed by 1984. When I found out that I would be one of the delegates, of course honored, surprised. Wow, when I saw the Central Temple. First of all, you would see it in pictures through the God's Message magazine and seeing the progress of the Central Temple. And then being there, seeing it in real life, amazing. Coming from the United States and being there live in person, something I can never forget.
As the church continued to grow, it reached its 30th anniversary in the West in 1998.
Ang malaking selebrasyon naganap nung 30th anniversary nila. At ang pinapunta ay ang kapatid na Eduardo Manalo.
Over 50 years have passed since the first worship service in the Far West. There is a new type of conflict affecting church members.
I would say a recurring problem amongst the youth today, especially with rise in social media, is facing things like depression and anxiety.
People my age, it's common for them to go clubbing, to engage in different kinds of substance use, intimacy before marriage. People are very proud even to showcase that aspect of their lives.
Some things I do to keep myself active in the faith is to always be involved in church activities. It's always such a rewarding and happy feeling knowing that I get to be part of so many district activities, part of local activities.
What I give the most importance to, what I remain busy with, is the work of the Lord. So I'm at church all the time, whether that's CFO activities, work for my local congregation, whatever aspect of work I'm doing as an officer or even just as a member. I'm happy to keep myself busy with that kind of work and let my life revolve around it, just so that I know I'm leading my life in a way that is pleasing to Almighty God.
So it's an extra added effort for a parent to watch over their children to make sure that they remain steadfast in their faith.
So, as a member of the Church of Christ, I would be concerned for the safety of my children's salvation. Just because the world is a mess. If you don't hold on to your faith and stay prayerful, you can succumb to so much anxiety and fear and depression. So since my children are active and they understand, I have to pray even harder that they maintain that. We try to come to church together as much as possible, and I just try to lead by example.
With God's guidance through the church administration, the brethren understand that they shouldn't be surprised when they face challenges, and at the same time, they shouldn't lose hope.
One of the things that has made the Church of Christ so successful is when God empowers the church with His truth. It has
absolute certainty to succeed, to flourish. Because it's not by the capacity and the plan of human beings. It's God. God is with the Church of Christ. God is with the church administrator, the church administration, leading and taking care of the church. And no matter what may be the standard of morality or the perception of right and wrong and the opinions of society and the trends of community, no matter what that may be, the singularity of truth, the absolute truth remains constant. That does not evolve. That does not change. And no matter how many generations, no matter how many decades will pass, that will always remain the standard of right and wrong, the standard of holiness, righteousness.
The church engages in social civic activities because in addition to building houses of worship, one of God's commands that the church fulfills is to help their fellow men.
Look, the County of San Mateo recognizes what the Church of Christ has done. We've known their work, I'm talking about since the 1960s, uplifting people, but at the same time, being able to be in so many countries and to really have impact, whether it's through faith or whether it's through service. And as we know, helping people in need is just really critical in us moving forward as a society, and that's what this church is doing.
I think they're very much a symbol of religion in action. So not only do you celebrate your faith, but you make sure that you put that faith in action. It's very encouraging, it's very inspiring, and as a member of Parliament, I'm very grateful for their work.
I remember being shown the lesson that Brother Aranyo taught. And he told the brethren, if you want the church to be established here and to grow, we need church officers to care for the brethren. And they had an oath-taking of officers. And from them, that small group, the church has now expanded all over the islands here in the Pacific. And then Brother Aranyo went to the mainland, San Francisco, Long Beach, California, New York, and the church just spread. Small congregations, but then now those small congregations become many different congregations. So it's all over North America, and then it spread all over the world.
The church began in a poor country. 1914, at the same day as the outbreak of the First World War, the official beginning of the Church of Christ. But we can see it was not meant to just prosper all over the Philippines. In the United States alone, there are 23 ecclesiastical districts where we can see, again, not only growth in the membership, growth also in the places of worship where brethren gathered to worship the true God, to give Him all the praise.
During the early period here in Canada, during the 70s, we have only one congregation, and that is Toronto. Now, how many districts do we have in Canada? We have already 9 districts.
And truly nowadays, we can see the continued expansion of the church. How has this affected the faith of the members of the church? First and foremost, it makes us proud. Second of all, it solidifies or strengthens our faith. Because in spite of the opposition, in spite of the detractors, in spite of the difficulties that the world is facing, the church continues to grow and it expands.
Gusto natin ang iglesia ay tumatag. Ang sabi ng Biblia, ang Diyos ang magpapatatag sa bansa, ang Diyos ang mag-iingat sa kanyang bayan, ang Diyos ang magbibigay ng karunungan at kaalaman. Kailan? Kung ang bayang yon, ang pangunahing yaman, ay ang paggalang sa Panginoon Diyos. Pero mga kapatid, kung narinig ninyo ang sabi ng Diyos, kapag kayo nagkaisa ng diwa at puso sa pagsunod sa akin, ito'y para sa inyong kabutihan hanggang sa inyong mga anak. Yan po lang ang susi. Simpleng-simple lang. Ang susi ng tagumpay, ang susi ng ikatatatag ng iglesia, ang susi para sa ikapagkakaroon ng magandang wakas. Di ho ba sabi ko sa inyo kanina na magsama-sama tayo na ang yakapin naman natin ay pagsunod. Kaya mga kapatid, tandaan nyo sabi ng Diyos, pag ginawa natin yung bahagi natin, gagawin niya yung bahagi niya. Ano yun? Pagpapalain ko kayo habang panahon. Patatatagin ko kayo. Sabi ng Diyos, buong puso at kaluluwa, gagawin ko sa inyo yan.
God's blessings enabled the church to spread throughout the East and West. But God's blessings were far from over. Apart from its initial triumph in North America, during those times, the church was also spreading throughout Europe.